Wherapy. Therapy wherever, whenever.
Hello, everyone. My name is Philip Andersson. I am a psychotherapist and the founder of Wherapy. And welcome to Coffee with a Therapist, where I discuss all things mental health, depression, anxiety, and the like. And I do so whilst drinking a cup of coffee. It's morning here in Sweden. The weather is really nice outside. The sun is shining for once, so I am full of happy vibes. And today, the topic of the podcast is going to be how to fix your retirement for a better mental health. As you may have noticed, I'm going through the different age periods throughout our lives and discussing how we are affected mentally by those periods. And today I thought I'd do about 65 plus. Last week I did between 50 and 60. Now I'm going to do 60 to 65 plus, so the retirement age. So, without further ado, let's begin. So, before I get into my first point, let me introduce the first country of my weekly therapy world tour, and that is French Guinea. So if you're from French Guinea and you want one free therapy session, then get in touch with me either through Instagram, Wherapy_ENG. Just write me in the messages there, or just send me an email to info@wherapy.com. For those of you who don't know, I do a free therapy world tour every week. So I I do video calls with people from 3 different countries. And it's my ambition to have a therapy session with one person from each country in the world. So we'll see how far I get. Right now it's about, this week if I get one person, it'll be the 50th country. So that's quite a milestone. So, let's get into it. I've got my notes here. And I thought, let's begin with the positives. It might seem like there's a lot of doom and gloom in retirement, and especially when you're podcasting about depression, mental health, and the focus tends to be on the negatives. But retirement, at least early retirement, can be quite an amazing time in our lives. Finally, we have some work-life balance, or maybe it's too much to the other side. Too much free time, but we're okay. Physical, mental health in early retirement. What am I saying? Physical health in early retirement is usually okay. We can do things most other people can do. We're also stable in our economy as well. This might get worse the deeper into retirement we get, but at the beginning we have our pension, and we also have our savings, and we're quite comfortable in that sense. And socially we're also quite okay. We might have kids and grandkids if we're lucky, and we have friends who are also reasonably healthy and reasonably okay. Yeah. So we have all these 3 different spectrums of our lives are in balance. And this is, one aspect of mental health. If one of these 3 aspects of our lives is less stable, then we're more likely to slide into a depression. So retirement can be quite good in this sense. Yeah? And it might actually be that with all this free time, we end up taking on too much. We might be babysitters for our grandkids. We might also be in all these different kind of clubs, book clubs, activity clubs, and the like. We might also be quite ambitious. We might actually have some part-time work that we're doing and the like, and this could be a little bit tough. In the long run, it might actually affect us mentally, and physically, of course. Sorry about the brief interruption there. I had to pause because I saw my dog was chasing after another dog. There's also another positive aspect about retirement and old age in general is that we enter into this transcendent. It's called in Swedish. It's called gerotransdens, so geriatric transcendence. Yeah, where we feel like we're getting closer to spirituality. We might not be religious in the sense, but we feel like our dead loved ones are actually closer to us. We feel like we can connect to them. We feel like we can almost like we can speak to them, and we're also a little bit more at peace with our own mortality, and that death is getting closer and closer because we feel this innate spirituality, and that is why a lot of old people seem a bit calmer about getting old and about dying, whereas a lot of young people, maybe people in their 20s and 30s, they have all this death anxiety. So that's another positive aspect about getting old and the retirement age. But now let's move on to some of the negatives. So we're back, yeah? And before I begin, let me introduce my next country in the Therapy World Tour, and that will be Indonesia. So if you're from Indonesia and you want one free therapy session, then just send me a DM in Instagram. So it's Wherapy_ENG, or just send me an email, info@wherapy.com. So, without further ado, retirement and the negative aspects. The first one is that we feel like, or I always end up saying we when I discuss these different age things, and I'm obviously not a retiree, but so bear with me when I say that. Retirees, they can sometimes feel like they have that their retirement has come a little bit too late to recover. Yeah, they might have had physically and mentally craving jobs. They might have had very stressful jobs, and it's almost as if they would have wanted a few years break there in the middle in order to resume. Yeah. But now the retirement has come at 65, and it's gone from 100% work to no percent work. So there's quite a shock there to the system, and we have all this time to try to recover, but we don't know what we're recovering towards. Yeah, what am I meant to feel better in order to do? And I'm also unable to feel better, yeah, because all these 40 plus years of work has been very draining on my body, yeah. And as I mentioned in the last period, or maybe the first few years of retirement, might be able to one might be able to kind of keep up physically and mentally, and we also have a lot of we have a good economy, most of us, during this time, and we have a good social life, and we're very active. But towards the end, or not towards the end, but after a few years, this ends up petering out, and we stay more at home. We become more passive. We end up lying in the couch watching TV all day. That's why traditional TV channels, they schedule their programs based on the age of their viewers. So in the daytime, it's a lot of more focus on retirees. So we have the kind of morning news programs, and maybe like cooking programs during the day, and we end up being indoors. And especially if you're living in a country with a quite harsh climate, then most of us stay indoors in order to survive. But it can drain us quite a lot if we're outside. So we become a lot more passive in our retirement, and this is part of in therapy we talk about a depression cycle. Yeah, this is more maybe cognitive behavioral therapy, but we end up feeling bad about ourselves, so we stay inside. We lose our social support network. We don't feel a need to go outside because we don't have a social support network, so we get more depressed, and then the circle just continues. And so this is kind of a depression cycle which is starting at a different point. We don't have anything to do because society doesn't value us. Yeah, and that's one aspect as well. We don't feel like we're useful anymore. Yeah, we not only are our kids independent, our grandkids maybe need us less and less the older they become, and society has long since not valued us. Yeah, they haven't valued us since we started our retirement. Yeah, they just see us as maybe money bags where we can go spend money, but we're not valuable in making money. Yeah, so we feel like we end up being at home. Sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there. My dog is saying hello to an old woman. I'll be right back. There, I'm back. Sorry about all the constant interruptions. I have my garden here in front of me, and my dog is in the garden, and an old, very nice old woman passed by with a walking stick, and my dog is very sociable and wants to say hi. But I just wanted to make sure that he wasn't too much, yeah, because he can be quite jumpy. Well, okay, back to retirement and discussing how it affects us, and we're talking about how it can be quite hard for people to this lack of what do I call it? This lack of purpose also kind of leads us to have a lack of agency. Yeah? We don't put value into our own lives because society doesn't value us. Yeah? It can be quite hard to see your own value if nobody else sees your value. So we become very passive, and we stay indoors, and we watch TV, or we do something very simple, and in the long run this leads to us being depressed. Yeah? We don't really see now my dog is okay. Yeah. We don't really see our own purpose, and this allows us to enter this depression cycle again and again. Yeah, because we don't have that purpose, and this makes us feel depressed, so we lack agency. We become very passive in our mental state as well. We don't give ourselves purpose, and therefore we become even more depressed. Yeah, so that's the main way we become depressed during retirement. And we could, before we had work also as an escape from social problems, but maybe work was an escape from issues in the family life, or issues with our friends, or just other grievances in general. Yeah? And now we don't have that escape, so we are faced with these grievances, and that it also becomes kind of our passiveness becomes an escape. So we kind of we might just be at home and not tackle these issues. Yeah, we also might be stuck at home with our life partner, yeah, who we might have not really connected to over these 30 or 40 years whilst we were working, because we had so much else to do. Yeah, so we might feel like all of a sudden that we don't really know our partner anymore. Yeah, or we have to rediscover them again, and that might be a big burden, a big hurdle for us to kind of overcome. So there's a lot of different things which can lead to depression, and work and our activeness in life and our purpose was also a way to distract ourselves from other problems and a way to give input into our lives, and we don't have that anymore. So not only are we more kind of susceptible to depression, we end up finding it ourselves, if you if you understand what I mean. So that's the end of this section, and now I'm going to go out, bring my dog back in so it doesn't distract me anymore, and I'm going to talk about how to fix mental health issues in retirement in the next section. So stay tuned. Okay, so now I'm back after having brought my dog in. I hope the last section was comprehensible for you, and that I wasn't waffling too much or in my own head. Let's move swiftly on to how to fix retirement. Yeah. But before that, let me introduce the third and final country, and that is Cameroon. So if you're from Cameroon and you want one free therapy session, just as you all know by now, go over, contact me, Instagram or email. These are maybe kind of suggestions that are more maybe on a political scale. Yeah. One would be having a gradual retirement. Yeah. So it's not so much of a shock. Yeah. I don't really understand why we would have to retire at 100%. Maybe we go down from maybe we start a little bit earlier, yeah, but we go down from 100 to 80 to 60 to 40 to 20% over the years. Yeah, and I suggest that I think that this would be doable. Yeah, and I think if we have that option ourselves, if we work within an industry. For example, I work as a therapist. I do have that luxury when I'm retiring that I could gradually retire and work less and less, but I can also work maybe longer into my maybe 70s. I might have to because the retirement age might increase, but that's another thing. But I think if someone has that opportunity to maybe gradually decrease their work over, say, a 10-year span between 60 and 70, then I think that would help a lot, actually. And another suggestion is to have a flexible retirement age. I know that in some countries you're forced to retire at a certain age, so if you're maybe 65, 67, then you have to stop working. But being able to have a flexible retirement age, since we're all individuals, we feel like some of us might have a lot of energy and might feel like we're still maybe 50 when we're 65 and could work another 15 years. Whereas some of us might have had such a stressful or a kind of mentally taxing life until that point that we feel like we're much older and we need to retire earlier. So being able to retire when you want to retire, obviously as the economic aspect has to kind of fit in there, but being able to retire at an age of your choice would do wonders for your mental health. Yeah, because a lot of mental health issues are created. A lot of mental health issues in retirement are created solely because our agency is taken away, our value is taken away, like this at a certain period of our lives. Yeah. So 65, boom, you go from 100% value to no value. And that shock is what creates depression. Other aspects, such as maybe like a day center, which isn't a retirement home, just like an area where retired people can go to activate themselves, as well as having maybe living quarters that are more conducive to being social and being integrated in life, being able to live near other retirees, but also maybe near our kids, being close to our grandkids proximity wise could increase mental health. Yeah, these are things that you could do as well. So if you retire, like the idea of kind of moving out into a country in the sun, that might seem good, but you might also be far away from your social circle. Yeah, and your social circle, as I mentioned in the depression cycle, depression leads to us feeling depressed, makes us more passive, makes us more lonely. So we choose to stay indoors and cut off our social network, and our need for social network therefore increases, and we get more depressed. Our social network, simply put, is very important for our mental health. Yeah, and that lifestyle, by being kind of retiring and moving far away into some better climate, that might actually work against our mental health, even though we think it would be positive. Yeah, and having a stronger connection to community. Yeah, and this again is about being active versus being passive, and maybe this is a personality trait as well. Yeah, but the people who are more connected to their communities in their retirement age and are more active in their community feel better mentally. Yeah, they feel the purpose. They give themselves a purpose when society has taken away a purpose, or taken away their purpose rather. Yeah. So it's about how active you are there, but kind of immersing yourselves in some sort of community program, maybe doing something for charity or something like this, and being active in your local community will give you a sense of purpose, and will also raise or improve rather your mental health. So those were the fixes. I'll go through them again. A gradual retirement, flexible retirement, access to some sort of day center or some area where you can go to and activate yourselves and meet other old people, and more social living situation, living closer to your friends, your family, your grandkids. This aspect will also improve your mental health, and also increasing your connection to the local community, and through that increasing your purpose. This will also improve your mental health. And in the next section, I'm going to talk a little bit about old ageism, how discrimination against old people leads to a worsening of their mental health. So stay tuned. So I am back, and before I begin, now I've mentioned the 3 different countries that I have therapy that are in my therapy world tour this week, and I just thought I'd introduce my agony uncle section. Yeah, so if you have a life issue that you want me to talk about and reflect upon in a video, then send it to info@wherapy.com. I'll keep your identity, your name and such out of it, obviously, when I answer, but I'll post it on YouTube, on social media, so you can see it there. So if you're interested in having an agony uncle and you think that I might be a good one, then get in contact. Send me send me an email about your life situation and your troubles. info@wherapy.com. Okay, so old ageism. Yeah, a lot of people or society in general can find it quite easy to kind of clump old people together, and we just think that they're people that are slowly deteriorating, don't have any real needs. They're kind of grumpy, but this isn't the case. Obviously, old people are individuals too. Yeah, society has a big focus on young people and their needs because they can provide a lot more for society. Yeah, the younger generation is the thing that society is going to depend upon economically for the next 30 years. So they kind of put all their focus there. Yeah, whereas the old people are just kind of taking money out of society, and therefore they don't get that focus. Yeah, so their individual needs aren't focused upon. They're just clumped together. Yeah, and obviously this leads to feelings of neglect. Yeah, which in the long run can lead to a depression, obviously. But it's easy to forget that old people, whether they live in a retirement home or they live by themselves or they live with their partner at home, they have romances, they have passions, they have also relationship problems that they need to get over. They have other mental health issues that are very similar to the mental health issues of a lot younger people. Yeah, they can feel displaced. They might have a migrant background and might feel displaced, or they may feel they may have some sort of existential issue, which also a lot of young people have. Yeah, but we tend to forget this. Yeah, and we tend to just clump them together, and we tend to think that, okay, well, since you're slowly deteriorating in your mental state, then your emotional problems aren't as important. Yeah. Oh, it's okay. Just as long as you're fed and you're alive and you're warm, or comfortable rather, then that's okay. Yeah, and we see that in a lot of old age homes as well. Yeah, the physical needs are met, some sort of mental stimulus is met, but the emotional needs aren't really met. There are a lot of and when old people can kind of mention their emotional needs, they are seen as a little bit maybe frustrating. Yeah, because if they mention them to workers at the old age home, they might think, well, yeah, I have the physical needs of maybe 50 people to take care of. I can't really take care of your emotional needs right now. Yeah? And likewise, if an old person brings their emotional needs to their grown-up daughter or son, they might feel like, well, I've got tons of work to do, and I also have my children to take care of. I can't take care of my adult as well. Or what am I saying? I can't take care of my parents' emotional needs as well. So it's easy for old people to feel like they're a burden emotionally on other people. Yeah. And they're also kind of a burden. They also feel a burden in other more obvious ways, but due to their physical deterioration. Yeah. And this is conducive of people becoming depressed as they age, as they go into like the later stages of their retirement. Yeah. There's also the physical aspect of being or the mental aspect of being aware of your physical deterioration. Yeah, you're not being able to walk as smoothly as you could before. You're not being able to talk as quickly as you used to be. You it's easier for you to get injured. You might also maybe have some sort of illness that is linked to age, like dementia or some other ailment of the body, and you're also kind of reminded of this since with all the doctor appointments and all the kind of medicines that you might receive at the old age home or the nursing home or whatever. And you feel like, well, no, I'm tired of being sick and tired. I don't want to be reminded of this. Yeah, I don't want to have another appointment with my GP or with the physiotherapist, because also I know that I'm not going to improve. I'm not going to become the young version of myself. Yeah, I'm just going to get older and more tired. So I'm going to give up here. And I'm going to be passive, and I'm going to sit in front of my TV, watch what I want to watch, and I'm not going to care about my legs, which are getting less and less strong. Yeah, or I'm not going to care about me having to face the fact that I'm going to have to go walk, or sit in a wheelchair, or that I'm slowly going blind. I'm not going to care about that anymore. Yeah. So the frustration, you can hear the frustration in my voice when I'm saying this. Yeah. The frustration grows, and this frustration leads to a bitterness, which leads to a depression. Yeah. So this is another weak point in when a weak point in our mentality as we age. So that's something to watch out for. So we've come to the end of the podcast. Yeah? If you like this podcast, then please rate it on Spotify or give it a thumbs up on YouTube. And if you're interested in a therapy session, just go over to Wherapy.com and book an online therapy session there. And if you're interested in mental health courses, then also go over to Wherapy.com and check them out. Otherwise, have a great day and take care.